What is up, humans of the cardboard? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I've got a new video for you. This time we are talking about Beetroopers again. I know it's kind of like 3 back-to-back videos about Beetroopers, but listen. The first video was me hard reacting to Beetroopers alongside of the rest of the 20 cards that finalize the Dawn of Majesty sets. If you want to watch that, check that out. And then yesterday I uploaded a video just talking more about my thoughts on it and how much potential I actually think the archetype has. And today we're actually going to go through and we're going to look at all the like insect stuff we already have in the game that actually is boost for this set, this archetype, because I think this archetype kind of falls into one of those weird categories with like zombies and plants and stuff like that. Worms almost, but worms are just so underdeveloped. But mainly zombies and plants are like 2 bigger ones that definitely give me this vibe. And that vibe really just means that even though there are individual zombie and plant archetypes, Konami's already made a concentrated effort to make just such generic plant and zombie support out there that like now whenever any new archetype comes out for them, they immediately have like a ton of support cards and starter cards that just already exist in that type because they just all kind of work together pretty well. This kind of feels the same. And so this archetype will definitely help solidify, and a lot of these cards we're going to talk about today will definitely have a large part in that. So if you don't know exactly what exists in the archetype, real quick, we'll skim. Buggy, he summons another copy from himself when he's normally specialed. She can jump out of the hand when any insect is summoned and has a quick effect to pop an activated monster or a monster activating its effect on the field. Pretty decent. It's disruption. This guy's awesome. He like jumps out of the hand by returning an insect and an opponent's monster engraved to the bottom of the deck and then searches a Beetrooper spell or trap on summon. He is awesome and a big body. Beetrooper Armor Horn, he gives you an additional normal summon for an insect. That is generically any insect. One of the best cards as far as making this deck work with other insect stuff. And he can banish 3 insects from grave to special summon himself back, but he banished himself when he leaves the field. Pretty cool recursion as well. Then you have the boss monster. He can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, while also being able to summon a Beetrooper from deck by tributing an insect, and he can give himself a 2000 attack buff sometimes at the cost of his protection. Then you have the field spell. It's a consistent monster reborn every turn, and if an insect is destroyed, it'll give you a Beetrooper token. Pretty nice extender. And then fly and sting. This card's really cool. It negates activated monster effects as a counter trap if you control a Beetrooper, and if you control any insect with 3000 or more attack on your end phase, it will reset itself back to the field to reset and get yourself another solemn strike essentially for the next turn, which is really, really strong. So every card in this archetype so far is really good, but just want to go through that real quick in case you did not know all of those cards, because we're going to get into this business. Okay, here we go. First off, I want to start with the archetypes. There's only really 2 archetypes that even really make sense here. There's not many insect archetypes in general. The first one is Insector. This has to be the first one that comes to everybody's mind. If you're a competitive player, even if you didn't play back then, you know that at one point Insectors were a very crazy deck in the meta. This has to be the first thing though. Also, because they are getting a brand new spell card in Grand Creators, I think for us, in December. So you definitely have to keep that in mind as well, that there is another card coming, and if it is even better for Insectors, even better for this deck. So really, really cool. You have stuff like Dragonfly. He allows you to special summon Insectors straight from the deck. You've got Centipede. He searches Insectors straight out of the deck. You've got Hornet. This card pops cards by like removing itself while it's equipped to a monster. Really good, because he's not once per turn. Also, none of these are like hard once per turn, so you can just like loop them so much, which could be really degenerate in the deck should that become a thing. Definitely keep an eye on that. And then you also have Mantis. It can equip it to self to something to make it 2400, but also if it's removed from something while it's equipped, it can just reborn any Insector monster engraved. So again, a nice little extender. Definitely an engine that we're going to be taking a look at in the future. And the other one is Battle Wasp, which I think a lot of people crapped on at first, but I actually think there's some pretty nasty cards in here. Sting being one of them. On summon, it searches you a Battle Wasp monster, but he's also just like a walking impermanence. He can tribute any insect, one other insect. He can't tribute himself, which is definitely interesting to note and important to make note of. To target any monster and negates effects until the end of the turn. Well, so he gets you an extender and then is like disruption in and of himself. So I really, really like that. You can definitely end on him and still be able to have some disruption, which is nice. Arbalest. This card's really cool because it generically can reborn on normal, when it's normal summon, reborn any level 3 or lower insect in the game. Doesn't negate it or anything. It just says you can't, wait, doesn't it? You can special summon, oh no, it's just a hard one's return. Dang, it doesn't even have a stipulation locking you into insects or anything. I thought it did, but the other ones do. But that's actually pretty good. And also, if he is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon a Battle Wasp straight out of the hand or deck as well. So floats also. Nice. Then you have Twin Bow. This card can just summon itself from the hand, but it does lock you into insects from the extra deck. I don't think that'll be that big of a problem. I think most of our extra deck is going to be insect anyway, but still, just a nice extender. You don't even have to have a monster on the field, which is the best kind of extender. Then you have Pin. If you control an insect, he jumps out of the hand, and then once per turn, you can just deal 200 for every Battle Wasp on the field, or Battle Wasp pin the bullseye on the field. So that's actually kind of funny. But yeah, again, just a nice little extender. Nice to search off of Sting. So nice little engine there, gets you to extenders. I think they're better at extending, this archetype is, than Inzectors, but I think Inzectors may have the higher ceiling overall. So we'll see which one or what kind of combination people come up with to really find like the healthy balance there. Because you want to have strong plays, but you also want to have consistent plays at the same time. Okay, then we get to a bunch of generic cards. First off, if Resonance Insect, this has to be one of the biggest ones to consider. If this card is just sent from field to graveyard, you can add any level 5 or higher insect from deck to hand. So you could just normal summon this, make an Almirage, or just normal summon this, summon any extender, make the link 2. This gives you a search, and you have the additional normal summon now. There's a lot of different things you can take advantage of there. Also, if he is ever banished, you can send an insect monster from your deck to the graveyard. That could give you other potential stuff. Now, he can't send another copy of himself because that would be insane. But still, I think this card's really, really crazy. It gives you potentially a Foolish and a Search. And I don't know what else you can really ask for. It's really solid. Goki Pole's another one. If he's sent to graveyard, you can add any level 4 insect from deck to hand. Keep in mind that's specifically level 4, not level 4 or lower. And if you added a normal monster, you can special summon it immediately, then destroy a monster on the field with a higher attack than it. I don't expect that to really come up that often. I don't think you really want to play those, although I guess we can't discount the possibility of just playing a normal package with stuff like Unexpected Die just for extra extenders. It really depends on like if that extra body is going to be that worth it. I'm not entirely sold so far on that though. But still, just the search for a free level 4 could still be really nice. We have stuff like Aztekipede that exist in the game, which is just an easy extender that this card can search. And that's nice as well. So next up we have Beetron. This card never really had a chance to be too amazing in the game, but I think this archetype, especially the Link 2, definitely allows it to be much better because he can send any face-up spell or trap you control to grave to then reborn a level 4 lower insect. Doesn't negate its effects or anything like that. So if you just like make the Link 2, right? The problem with this guy is he takes your normal usually, but you wouldn't have something in grave most of the time, at least an insect. So now you make the Link 2, then you use the Link 2 for an additional normal on Beetron, and if you just have any continuous spell or trap, the field spell, maybe you already used it to reborn something, then Beetron can just reborn something also. And he just kind of is another like, you know, 1 card, 2 link materials kind of situation, which is pretty solid. So he could come up. I don't know exactly. I love his design anyway, but still really cool. Transcade is another one. If this card's special summoned, you can summon an insect earth token to your field, but he locks into insects from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. I don't actually foresee this card being too great in the deck, but it is one of those things that I do have to mention because it is another just 1 card, 2 link materials. But the problem is the Link 2 gives you an additional normal summon, not a special summon from hand. So it won't even trigger this card's effect that way. So that's where the awkwardness kind of comes in. Next up is Aztekipede. This card's very simple. Banish an insect from grave to special this from the hand. That's where this card could be really nice with something like your Goki Pole. Just get a free search for this as an extender and keep going. Primitive Butterfly. This card kind of reminds me of Red Layer in like Infernobles. It just says if you have no monsters, you can special summon this from the hand. Very simple. Puts a body on field without your normal summon, which is very, very nice. And yeah, it means if you normal summon like Sting, your opponent's not going to want to hand trap the Sting because you've already got the Link 2, so you can still extend there. So this is pretty nice. This could be a nice card here for sure. I wish its stats were a little better for a level 5, but we'll take the extender no matter what. This card is crazy. I don't think many people know about this card, but this card could be the centerpiece of what makes this deck able to compete in 2021. Scary Moth. And let me tell you, the name is true, okay? This card pretty much basically says, very simply, each player can only special summon a monster or monsters once per turn. Damn. So before link summoning, this card was like, okay, it kind of hurts your opponent, but also kind of hurts you from popping off. Not anymore, because now you just link summon this off for one of your insect links, and then it's off the field anymore, so you're not under the stipulation. So you summon it, it's there for your opponent. They're essentially under Winda now. This card is just Winda for insects, and yeah, that's pretty crazy. So really, really interesting card. I'm really curious how easily this card can come out in this deck, but Resonance Insect searches it. You have the additional normal summon from your boy the Link 2, so you could just normal tribute this card depending on the kind of play you can do. And I'm sure there are other ways too. I know there's stuff like Seraphim Papillon, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that can revive this from grave on your opponent's turn, and that could be something. The Kaijus, there's actually 2 insect Kaijus, again, both searchable off of Resonance Insect. So your opponent may think like, okay, I don't really care about this search, I'll just let them get this search off. Then you search Kaiju, their one disruption or their most important disruption, and now you're able to break the board. Who knows? That could be a thing. And then we get to the spells and traps. So that's most of the main deck monsters that really, really matter. There are definitely some other ones that are interesting, but I don't think they actually have synergy. Like some of the sea cards, Consac Sea, Flying Sea, Max Sea, Shining Black Sea, all those, they're cool. They just don't actually have like the most synergy with the archetype, really. There. So moving on to the spells. First off, I had to throw this in there. This card does have the potential of summoning 3 insects in one turn, but it does take your battle phase. And this deck, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a hard-going second deck by any means. So I really don't expect that to be a route that the deck ends up going. But I figured it was worth mentioning just in case, because it is still a really interesting card to me. Cocoon of Ultra Evolution. Now this could be one of those things that you look at and say, ooh, this gets Scary Moth out of the deck and as a quick effect. So the only thing this has to do is it has to attribute an insect from either field that's equipped with an equip card. So, but if you're playing like the Insector engine, or you're playing even just Insector Pycophyllina, the extract monster for them, the link, you can actually set that up pretty easily. So this card could get you Scary Moth very, very quickly, and then it gives you an extra draw on the next turn. So it even makes up for the value. Even if you have to discard it or something, it'll get you a draw. So that's actually not too bad. Then you have Insect Imitation. There's another one to consider, especially with something like Goki Pole or Resonance Insect, right? You tribute them, then they trigger Engrave to get you another resource anyway, and this summons an insect of the monster, the insect you tributed that's 1 level higher. So you tribute a level 3, you get a level 4, maybe going to Beetron, something like that. If you can get a continuous spell or trap on the field and get things going, that could be something cool. So definitely a card to consider, not once per turn either, so that could come up, but cool card, definitely has synergy. Multiplication of Ants. This tributes an insect to give you 2 ant tokens. And they can't be used for tribute summon. That's definitely actually worth noting, especially with stuff like Scary Moth. But if you're just going to use them for link fodder, sure, you're trading 1 material for 2. So it works. And if you're tributing something like Resonance Insect or Goki Pole, you're getting an extra search for another extender anyway. So this totally, totally works. Then we move to Wormbait. This is another kind of similar card to Multiplication of Ants. If you control an insect whatsoever, special summon 2 worm tokens. The only thing is you can't normal or special summon level 3 or 4 monsters the entire turn you activate this. That may kill this card in this deck for sure. I'm not entirely sure yet, but you've got 2 level 3s that are 2 of the more important cards in the main deck for the archetype, and I'm sure there are other 3s and 4s that will come up, like Aztecapede, like Beetron, stuff like that. So definitely keep an eye on it. But if it's not, this card is kind of insane, right? No restriction other than that, and you just get to link off with them. You can tribute them for Scary Moth if you go that route or whatever, and kind of get moving. Also not once per turn either. Pretty crazy. All right, then we get to some link monsters. No real traps that really rang true to me as like a really good synergizing card. Honestly, we could definitely use like a Icarus attack, but for insects. That would be really cool, but I'm not gonna pull Konami's leg on that. They've done a good job up until this point. Okay, in the extra deck though, this is a card we actually got today. Or not today, but like literally yesterday. This is coming in Dawn of Majesty. It's a link to that takes any two monsters with different names. While this card is linked to a monster, your opponent cannot target it for an attack. And if a monster this card points to is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon a level 4 lore insect from hand or grave, banish it when it next leaves the field. So kind of cool. Just if something it points to is destroyed, you get to float into an insect from grave. Doesn't negate its effects, it's just banished when it leaves the field. Kind of decent generic card. But definitely nice to keep in mind. We'll see if we can pop our own stuff easy enough, though. Sorry about the quality, by the way. I couldn't find an English version, so I could read it while I'm going through it there. So, sorry. Figure I'd throw this in there. This takes any two insects or plants. Essentially, what this would be in this deck is literally just an 1800 beater that is unaffected by all trap effects. So if you're in a trap matchup like Eldritch, like whatever, this is just a beater that allows you to start to play without being affected by traps. It means you don't lose something like Torrential Tribute or any of these other cards, and you still have a beater. So something like Altergeist, this card's kind of actually annoying for them to deal with if they don't already have access to the bounce there, because the traps aren't going to do anything to this. Pretty cool. Seraphim Papillon. This card is super interesting for this archetype, for sure. This card takes any two monsters with different names. It gains 200 for every counter on it. And when it's link summoned, you put a counter on this card for every insect used as material. This will ideally be at least 2. So at least 2 counters. And then this card has a quick effect to remove 1 counter from this card to special summon any level 4 lower insect straight from your grave and defense position. Now that I'm reading that, I'm realizing it can't reborn Scary Moth because it's only level 4 lower, so keep that in mind. But still, you can reborn stuff like the Beetrooper, that's the pop on the field. You can reborn Scout Buggy, and he'll get you another Scout Buggy from the deck, so that's like synergy there. You could reborn some Battle Wasp cards. You could reborn other stuff, right? There's plenty of stuff. I'm sure there's a ton of stuff. You could just reborn even like a Gokipole or a Resonance Insect just to resolve them again if your opponent like destroys them. So really interesting card, definitely cool to note. I would definitely keep it in mind, and if you're looking at this deck, keep these on hand. It's only a common, so it's easy to get. No problems there. Then we have Quagar Hercules. It's a cool card. I figure I might as well mention this if we're just looking for extenders in the deck. We do have the new Instant Fusion, like new version Instant Fusion coming out. It only summons vanillas out of the extra deck as fusions, but it does level 6s or lower, not just level 5 or lower like Instant Fusion. So this guy is the only vanilla insect fusion, I believe, and he is really expensive. I looked him up. He only has like 2 printings ever. One of them's really expensive. The other one's like still pretty expensive just because it's like a battle pack card. Maybe Konami will reprint him sometime soon just to make that a little bit nicer and work for the new card. But yeah, you might as well consider it if you're considering playing that card as an extender. And then we finish up here with Cicada King. This card's not too crazy important, but it is a rank 3, which means like Scout Buggy is a 1 card this, and this essentially is an impermanence. When a monster on field activates its effect, you can attach material to target that monster, negate its effect, and then make an insect on the field, gain 500 or change its battle position. 500 defense or change its battle position. So it's fine. It essentially just means like Buggy becomes a 1-card interruption if you don't have any other plays going on. So maybe it's a 1 of in the extra deck. I don't know. It's still an insect, which is nice, and maybe we'll see it. I don't know. I figured it was worth mentioning. It's good enough to mention here. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's way different. So yeah, these are all the insect cards that to me, I literally went through every insect monster. I went through every extra deck monster. I went through every spell and trap that lists insect in its text. And these were the best cards I came up with. I really think there's a good amount of stuff here. I think Battle Wasps have good potential here. I think Insectors have good potential here. Obviously, the new card will come out. And also, don't forget that we got 6 or 7 cards here. We already have confirmation of more support in Burst of Destiny, which we'll be getting in like just over 2 months. And yeah, like I think we really have a bright future for this deck. I'm gonna make sure I have pretty much anything I might need for this archetype preemptively, so nothing spikes up when this deck comes out of the waves and makes meta, you know, I don't know, plays and stuff. And all that stuff, and people just go crazy for it. I'm going to be ready for it. I really love this. I love talking about it, new archetypes like this. I think the designs are dope. I think all the cards so far are really solid, and I cannot wait to see what people come up with, and also what Chaboy can come up with, because I'm going to be labbing this one. This one's one I'm definitely feeling. So let me know in the comment section down below if you think I missed anything here, if there are any cards that you think are worth noting that I might have missed, because I'd love to obviously not miss anything. So there's that. And of course, just how much you love this archetype. I can't talk enough about it. I'm just having so much fun with it. So thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff from me, and I will see you in the next video, guys. Thanks again. I love you. Peace.